Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more esports news and of course the breakdown of the Tfue lawsuit against FaZe Clan organization. There are not many people out there who have broken this thing down, but I will be doing it for all of you and putting it into English, putting it into kind of easier terms to understand, because when it comes to me and hopefully some of you as well, reading this kind of stuff can be very difficult. So I wanted to summarize in English, broader terms as well as easier terms to understand exactly what Tfue has against his own organization, that of course being FaZe Clan. Of course, first of all, I'm going to go over all of the causes in the case he has against them of why his contract should be terminated with them, and then very lastly touch on the very serious allegations he has made about them: underage signings, underage drinking, illegal gambling, so on and so forth, of all the complaints he has had against the organization itself. I'll be breaking it down for all of you guys today during the video and hopefully going to recap all of it at the very end as well, but I hope you guys all enjoy because this is one heck of a case. So let's hop into the first cause against them, that being FaZe Clan, exactly why Tfue thinks his contract should be terminated. So the first cause, along with the second cause we'll talk about in a bit here, are both calls for termination of his contract, that being Tfue, who was 20 years old when he signed his first contract with FaZe Clan in April of 2018. Now, the initial terms were set for 6 months, but could be extended for up to 3 years if certain conditions were met. Now, we're going to presume as of right now those conditions were actually met by FaZe Clan, and that's why his contract was hence extended for the next 3 years. It is then clarified that all paid sponsorships or brand deals were first paid to FaZe Clan. It was then FaZe's job to pay the players directly after that. So pretty much sponsors would first pay FaZe, then FaZe had to pay their players, in this case being Turner, and he goes on to state that apparently FaZe had received money from partnerships which included Tfue's services or likeness or his image, and he was not distributed those funds after that, which of course breaches the contract with him. And then he and his team have now notified FaZe of this breach of contract as of May 20th of this year, being 2019. And I'm going to kind of give you guys notes and my thoughts after each and every cause, this one being the first cause. It is a bit weird, and I hope that behind closed doors Tfue had brought this up beforehand, although according to Banks in his response he had not, but it does clearly state the team had actually notified FaZe of this breach as of a couple days ago on May 20th, and I'm very curious as to why they would not bring it up earlier before it all went public. Of course, you guys know the Hollywood Reporter broke this lawsuit publicly, and that's of course when they finally notified FaZe of this breach of contract so far down the road. It does seem a bit odd, and I hope as a friend, as a of course organizational member of FaZe Clan, he notified them in some way before a couple days ago. And the second cause here is pretty much a second reason to call for termination of his contract, so it's a follow-up of the first cause, but both are reasons for termination of Tfue's contract. As this one states, the contract is in violation of section 16600, and the contract violates that section apparently because it has illegal and anti-competitive restrictions which restrain him from pursuing his profession, of course being streaming or the like of that. And to sum it up, section 5A of this agreement pretty much states he cannot agree or work with any other company or brand who has an agreement with FaZe Clan currently. And we go to section 3, which also states Tfue or Turner could not promote, sponsor, endorse, or work for any companies that are competitive with FaZe's current sponsors on top of that. So a quick summary, pretty much Turner cannot have existing partnerships or brand deals with the current sponsors of FaZe Clan or the competition of those said sponsors, and so Tfue states it was preventing him from being competitive in the marketplace and therefore breach of contract and in violation of the said section 16600. And then very lastly for the second cause, it was actually section 5C, which does state if he received an offer from another team or organization, he must let FaZe know, and within 15 days of being notified, FaZe can actually have a matching right, which means they could actually match his offer from that organization or do better, and he then must stay with the organization. And thus again, he does claim this did not allow him to be competitive in the marketplace and was a breach of contract and a breach and a violation of that section 16600, and thus his contract should be terminated with FaZe Clan for those following reasons. And the third cause, a bit of a different twist here, it's actually pretty much a statement of business practices by FaZe Clan are now illegally unfair, thus violating section 17200, which in California law a person or entity cannot engage in unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent business practices. So by violating section 16600 about not letting him be competitive in the marketplace, they were also violating section 17200 with those unlawful business practices. And then very lastly in this cause, Tfue does claim he was threatened with injury because of their unlawful practices, and therefore he requests restitutionary relief for it. We'll talk about this in a bit. He actually mentioned skateboarding and also permanent disfigurement of his arm later on. We'll talk about that as well. But yet again, pretty much causes 1, 2, and 3 are all reasons for termination of contract and the unlawful codes that they actually did violate apparently with their actions, that being FaZe Clan. And the fourth cause can be pretty much summed up by he wants the money he is owed. Now FaZe did receive money apparently according to Tfue from third-party services which were intended for Tfue or Turner. They were direct sponsors for Tfue that FaZe took payment for, and the money was never used for Tfue's benefit or ever seen, according to Tfue, by himself. So he believes he's entitled to the damages he incurred by not having the money of which he was owed. Now this also directly directly corresponds to the fifth cause as well, both of which kind of bounce off each other in a way or two, because he not only wants damages for not receiving the money in the first place, but he also then wants the money he is owed on top of that. So pretty much he provided the services, FaZe benefited, and he was not actually compensated for those services he provided, so he says he's entitled to the value of those services plus the damages he actually incurred for not giving the money immediately thereafter. So pretty much how I'm going to try and explain it to all of you guys and how I read it. Now take it with a grain of salt. It can be taken very leniently of exactly what he meant by this, but let's say I have a Jake organization. I have several players out there. I have Tfue, I have Cloaksy, I have Jake number 2. I am the Jake organization. I take on a Nissan partnership for $5 million. Now I take on that $5 million initially, and I don't pay out my players an initial amount of that partnership. They also continue though month by month promoting my Nissan partnership of the Jake organization on their separate channels, YouTube, Twitch, whatever it might be, and I continue to not pay them for that. Meanwhile, I'm making money from my partnership of Nissan, but I'm not paying them initially for that partnership, the lump sum of $5 million, and I'm also not paying them month by month of what Nissan is also paying me on top of that. I do believe that's what Tfue meant, so FaZe must have had some sort of sponsorship where they had an initial lump sum given to them. They did not give Tfue an amount of that, or they did not continue to pay Tfue for the constant promotion of those said sponsors for FaZe Clan as well. So he wants the money he is owed for that, and he wants the damages incurred by not having that money initially on top of that. At least that's how I took these first through fourth and fifth causes so far. And the sixth cause, a very short one, the fact that the contract was breached by FaZe, assuming the agreement was valid. Very, very important point to make. Assuming the contract they gave him was even valid in the first place, which of course Tfue was trying to prove incorrect. Tfue still did abide by that contract. He claims that FaZe did not, given our first through fifth causes we've already talked about, which thus breaches the contract on their end. And because of that breach, he also believes they owe him money. Now, again, when it comes time to interpreting this, I'm not sure if he wants the money he is owed, if he wants damages, or if he wants additional money because of the contract breach. But either way, he states in the sixth cause here, the contract should be breached based off the first through fifth causes, and thus he wants money for that contractual breach on top of it. And the seventh cause, we actually use some legal language here. It's pretty much FaZe breaching fiduciary duty. Now, Tfue argues that FaZe is a talent agency, and they acted as his agent in acquiring the sponsors for him. Now, because of that, FaZe owes him undivided loyalty and to act in his best interest, which is very important here. And in doing so, though, in what they've done so far, and especially what we're going to talk about here, they apparently acted against his best interest by passing on or preventing him from moving on with a HyperX sponsorship. And this is the first time throughout the entire lawsuit where he names a specific sponsor, a specific moment in time where apparently it was FaZe Clan who rejected this HyperX sponsorship, and in doing so, they did not act in his best interest, and therefore he says they harmed him in doing that, and they owe him damages for thus harming him and not acting in his best interest. And very lastly, guys, we covered the causes 1 through 7. If you guys want to leave your comments down below about this, feel free to. I will read every comment today. I cannot reply to all of them, but this part is by far and away the most important part because these are the most serious allegations brought up by Tfue and aka Turner's legal team, that being what they call the exhibit. They included this in the lawsuit as well. These are all the primary allegations about his injuries, illegal gambling, underage drinking, underage signing of players, and most of this, I will say, when it comes to taking sides, it is so difficult. I will not do it right now because I need to know Tfue's opinions on these finite details before I really take a side. I want to side with Tfue. When it comes to this, though, it's very tough the way he approached this, and on top of that, I want to side with FaZe Clan, but they have not responded about a lot of these allegations, and I think ultimately both parties are going to be hurt by what Tfue is doing here. But let's break down the exhibit of what he calls out and complains about, and it's very serious. The first of which citing violating multiple labor codes, that being FaZe Clan breaking these labor code laws, hosting parties at the FaZe house or the Clout house that were fueled by alcohol, as said by Turner. He was both underage as well as furnished and encouraged to drink the alcohol. Now, when he says furnished, it means he was provided with, I do believe, the alcohol and also encouraged to drink it. And this is a very, very debatable topic because a lot of you guys watching are full-grown adults. You're 18 or older, and me, myself, personally, I did not drink till I was 21. When it comes to being said you were encouraged to drink alcohol and having that be a precedent to take a legal stance against FaZe, it's going to be very hard to prove that you were encouraged to drink, especially if people at this party and banks as well, other sources said that you drank before you were 21. To as an adult to be encouraged to drink. It is fully, I would say, your choice. I think a lot of us have been encouraged to do things that we did not want to do and chose not to do them. That is not really, I don't think, a very solid backing, but when it comes to being furnished or provided that alcohol, that could definitely be a very solid stance against FaZe Clan if they have an established organizational house and they provide underage or minors with this alcohol. That can be very easily proven and very easily stood up against them in the courtroom, I do believe. Now, very lastly, he makes on to go on to state as well that it was him encouraged alongside others to also illegally gamble, and that was not expanded upon either. I'm very curious what is meant by that, because FaZe Clan has an extensive past with gambling sponsors, so on and so forth. But he also states FaZe pressured him and others to do dangerous stunts. Now, we know Tfue in his past has also been kind of a stunt guy. He's been known to jump off big things and do that kind of stuff. Apparently, according to him, though, he suffered an arm injury skateboarding, of all things, which caused permanent disfigurement. He did quote that, so we'll see if he has pictures or images of this permanent disfigurement of his arm, which is the alleged spot where the injury took place. He also states he did not try to seek appropriate medical attention. He, meaning the FaZe Clan, apparently the guys who were with him, did not try and seek the appropriate medical attention. Again, as a full-grown adult, you have to question, is it the organization's doing to find him appropriate medical attention, or is it his? And then very lastly, he does state he was hit by a car while skateboarding too, which violates another labor code law. And then very lastly, I would say most importantly against the organization, because this tactic, it seems very weird for Tfue to do, especially because he was with the organization for so long. We have seen so many content creators and so many people and players say they were treated so well by FaZe. It does shock me to see him take this approach of apparently a well-known FaZe member being signed as an 11-year-old. He does call this out, and it's actually said here it was Turner's belief. In the document, it said it was Turner's belief that FaZe lied about this minor's age when they signed him, and also pressured his family, we believe it's High Sky, to lie about his age as well when he was contracted, violating yet again another labor code law. Those are all the statements against FaZe Clan as of right now, explained for all of you guys. And what do I think about this? It's just, I've never seen anything like this before, because I feel like I understand both sides. Although we've seen FaZe say they've only taken a grand total of $60,000 away from Tfue. If that is true, and the finite details come out that is true, that is merely nothing compared to what Tfue is worth and what he has made off this organization so far, and that'd be a hard argument to kind of withstand on his side of things. But if it's not true, if it came down to this alleged HyperX sponsor, let's say HyperX offered him $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, who knows what the amount for his popularity could be, and that's the breaking branch, and FaZe did not allow him to have that. Whose side are you still on? And with that being said, I find it so hard to take either side here, because I believe in both their arguments to some extent. Tfue, if he actually was ripped off, I can agree with that, but at the same time, his approach was so jaded. The way he actually did this, the amount of times he called out things that were not really relevant to his case. If he just wanted his contract to be terminated, he certainly could have had that by now based off a few of these arguments. But then why bring up illegal gambling? Why bring up underage drinking? Why bring up High Sky and the underage signing? That is where I find it very, very weird for him to come up with that approach, and it's very hard to side with him after doing that, because it seems like he is really trying to hurt FaZe Clan and has really been hurt by them over the past few years. And I can only really stand with him on this argument if they did not let him leave, and that's where I need to see Tfue's opinion on this, because if he felt so hurt by them that he needed to say this kind of stuff, I maybe understand it, but if it just seems too far. And then for FaZe's side, I want to stand with FaZe, and I think I would be almost lean towards their side right now in terms of how Tfue came about this, what we know right now. But then when it comes to FaZe's response on Twitter so far, they also have not responded to a lot of these allegations. They did respond about the 80%, and if they are true about that, good for them. But the main point of this argument is the fact that now we have other allegations coming out, and I just don't know where this is going to go. So right now, I'm not going to take a side. There are so many arguments being made on both sides. And I want to say what I think right now. I really do think both sides will be hurt by this, and Tfue is burning so many bridges the way he has gone about this. It's very shocking to see and actually read in print. As always, I hope you guys all enjoy. They'll be back here sometime soon with an update on this case and other esports news out there. And just a crazy story, one that I don't think we will see for quite some time here on esports news, and I'm very curious how it's going to come out and actually be broken down. As always, I hope you guys all enjoy, though. My name is Jake. I'll see you guys back here sometime soon. Take care of yourselves, and yeah, geez.